Hi, good evening to all Alchemites. I am Sushil Barkur and I am your host today for this webinar on stay well physically and mentally. As you all know, dear friends, that coronavirus has changed our lives in every way and has challenged us like never before. Because the kind of things it is presenting in front of us are highly unprecedented and never seen, never talked before. As we come together to deal with this pandemic for the last 150 days in our country, we realize that awareness is the key for tackling with this disease, whether that awareness is from the medical perspective or from the psychological perspective. More the information we have, more aware we are to tackle with this challenge of pandemic COVID. We at Alchem understand that what our employees are going through, and that is why you see that we have also taken various other measures to support our employees. And one of the measure correct which we are taking right now is to organize a webinar where the awareness about the medical aspect of COVID and the psychological aspect of COVID can be dealt. So welcome once again all of you in the webinar on stay well physically and mentally. Along with me, I have two honorable panelists with me. The first one I would like to introduce Dr. Naren Kinger. Dr. Naren Kinger is a celebrated clinical psychologist having 30 years of experience with him. His major works is in the areas of clinical psychology and psychotherapy. He has got experience of teaching as well, and his major distinction is that under his belt, he has conducted the largest study on the stress management for Mumbai Police, which was done at Wockhardt Hospital under the tutelage of Harvard Business School. At the same time, Dr. Naren Kinger is also associated with various hospitals of repute in Mumbai. Currently, he is associated with Reliance Foundation Hospital, and he is a lifetime member of Bombay Psychological Society and Bombay Psychiatrist Association. So welcome, Dr. Naren Kinger.
Thank you, Sushil. Thank you very much.
At the same time, I have got another honorable panelist with us, Dr. Akhilesh Sharma. He is President and CMO for Alchem Laboratories Limited. And from the academic side, correct, that is quite glorious academic background Dr. Akhilesh has. He is an MD in clinical pharmacology. He has done his fellowship in Royal College of Liverpool, and he has done his basic research on pencil markers from Pennsylvania University. And what more to say, Dr. Akhilesh is having more than 30 years of experience and having 57 patents under his belt. So who could be a better person to tackle our questions related with the medical aspects of COVID? And I have with me my co-moderator, Mr. Anthony Nader, correct, who is GM Sales and Marketing. And I think that he is working with us in Alchem for the last 10 years period of time. And he has the distinction of managing and growing brands like Clevam, Pan, P, Zone, A to Z Gold. So, Anthony, I think this is the right time because people are already gathered over here, right? So, I will request you to proceed with the things that we have planned for our colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Sushil, for the warm introduction. So, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our panelists. Welcome, Dr. Kinger. Welcome, Dr. Akhilesh.
Thank you.
To this webinar.
Thank you.
And also, I extend a warm welcome to all the participants and all the viewers. In fact, this entire webinar is being dedicated, is for you only. It's for you. Well, at the outset, I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of each and every Alchemite and for their contributions they have done during this pandemic scenario. A few departments, they have been outstanding in their commitment. I'd like to name a few of them. For example, our manufacturing team, plant team at Sikkim. They got huge manpower challenges, but their production shift was always on. And as a result, in the last 4 months, not even once we had a shortage of goods. Likewise, even our distribution team, they did a fantastic job, especially at the peak months of the lockdown in the month of April and May. They provided a seamless service of supply of goods to all the stockists and to the marketplaces. Along with them, also all the other functions like medical, HR, finance, IT, sales admin, all of us, we stood shoulder to shoulder and we ensured that the speed of operations of Alchem never really slowed down. But I feel the real heroes, the real warriors, they are the field force. And the Alchem field force, they have displayed extraordinary courage by resuming field operations Now, field work is open across the country, and our field force is going to the markets, meeting doctors, meeting our trade channel partners fearlessly. In the bargain, a few of us they have tested positive also, but then they have all recovered. So I think it's a big salute to all the alchemites who have really stood with us. So
Right.
on that
At
note,
the same, yeah. Yeah, at the same time, Anthony, correct, before you start asking questions, correct, let me tell the audience that what the format which is going to be. So we will be asking questions, correct, which are quite common, which has come from our field, correct, in a question answer format. And that discussion will go around 45 minutes to around 55 minutes. And then we will take up the questions from the audiences, because we can see on the window, correct, various questions are coming in. So we understand that a lot of curiosity is around this webinar. So I request now, Anthony, you to start with your first question to our panelist, Dr. Akhilesh.
thank you, Mr. Sushil. To set the ball rolling, sir, I'd like to interact. It's always a pleasure to interact with Dr. Akhilesh. And so let me tell you, sir, your virtual background is looking fantastic. Well, sir, now if you look at, we are in the fourth month of the pandemic, and almost everybody has a fair bit enough idea what to do, what not to do in Corona. But in the current context where the monsoon has set in across the country, a lot of our colleagues, they're having respiratory tract infections and allergic rhinitis, and these symptoms are very similar to COVID. So if you can guide us, how do we differentiate these symptoms from COVID? And when should we actually approach a doctor for treatment?
So, first of all, it's a great pleasure talking to everybody and an honor to be here and most of all sharing some of the experiences and the knowledge which we have gained across the Corona COVID-19 over the past few months. So, in terms of the infections which are caused by the various viruses, especially the common cold, what we call as the influenza, H influenza or the coronavirus. The commonest distinguishing factor most of the time in a respiratory tract infection could be like in a COVID-19 infection, you may not find a running nose, like you may find a running nose in a H influenza. And then the way a COVID infection may present against the influenza could be the malaise, the body ache may not be as severe as it would be seen in the H influenza. There could be little more symptoms of weakness. There could be more symptoms of like there are other symptoms of GI symptoms and all which are coming up, which have been noticed very commonly in many of the Indian population and even abroad. Then there are other symptoms which come up in COVID, like my spouse tells me, can you smell? Because loss of smell is one of the symptoms. So if I am able to smell, perhaps just on the lighter side, I may not be having COVID. Or if there is a loss of taste. So these are the symptoms which would be there in COVID, which may not be there in the H influenza, which are not in the H influenza. So these are the distinguishing factors. Other distinguishing factors are like if there's a respiratory infection in an influenza infection, there could be more sputum production, whereas in COVID there will be a dry cough. So these are the symptoms which occur in H influenzas. The fever normally which is seen can be a very high grade fever, but what I have seen and observed, though it's not very much reported, is a fever of 99 to 100 or 101 also could be a thing which may point towards a COVID infection. So very commonly in today's scenario, if you look at the weather changes, it is even allergy one should be aware of. It's not necessarily that an infection could be a causative factor. So there could be allergies which increase during monsoon because of the cloudy weather and the kind of dust particles which are settled or the heavy particles settle on the cloudy weather and we get exposed to it. People who are allergic and as most of us are, they may get allergic symptoms of running nose and even sometimes there could be some associated body ache with that. And one could just monitor the fever and monitor the way the things are happening, take some anti-allergics there, and that could help in most of the cases of an allergy. So there needs to be a distinction between these symptoms which may occur in these kind of seasons. I hope that answers the question.
In fact, very rightly said, doctor, that the four major symptoms, correct, which are differentiating, is that absence of running nose, loss of smell, loss of taste, dry cough, and then the high grade fever. But generally, 99 to 101 degree can also be a signal, correct, which makes us to go to the healthcare professional. At the same time, just extending the question from Anthony. Doctor, is there something like that some new symptoms are also being observed because of the changing nature of virus apart from these four symptoms?
So there are other symptoms like there could be some skin lesions which may be seen in a few subjects, in a few patients, and these skin lesions could be a mild rash. But if somebody develops a rash, it doesn't mean that necessarily it is because of COVID. So there have to be other co-symptoms which also should support that symptom. Then there are other symptoms like there could be additionally some difficulty in breathing sometimes, which could happen if there is a mild lung involvement. Then there can be symptoms of like because CNS is one of the areas affected by a lot of these viruses, including coronavirus, including influenza also used to affect the CS and CNS central nervous system, that is the brain, and there can be symptoms related to that. So there could be sometimes difficulty in falling asleep or restlessness. These could be some very basic baseline symptoms, but some very advanced symptoms which could be symptoms following after a COVID infection also could be like, and though they are very rare. So if you are seeing those symptoms and you are reading about them, you should not just panic about it. There could be like symptoms of encephalitis, or there could be other symptoms like a transient ischemic attack, because in COVID there is an effect on some of the blood coagulation factors. So these are but very rare. Like if you see, these are observed in less than 0.5 or 0.6%. They don't even come in the 2% category of the other symptoms which get reported. So these are the additional symptoms which would be seen in COVID, and they are being reported, like the skin symptoms and some of the CNN symptoms and some of the additional lung symptoms which may be seen.
Thank you very much, doctor, for your answer. Correct. This is very helpful that there are some new symptoms like skin lesions are also been appearing. So we should not take it very lightly. Apart from the four symptoms, we need to take care of the other symptoms as well, which is coming. So yeah, Anthony.
Sir, if you look at now, as per latest statistics, India reports a total of around 21 lakh cases. And every day the number of cases are increasing. More and more people are turning positive. In most of the major cities, even the health authorities are doing a door-to-door testing. So in case if one of your family members is tested to be positive, that's a big trauma to the others. So in such a scenario, so what would you recommend? How do the others they adjust to this?
See, basically today, if you look at, we are a country of 130 crore plus people, and the kind of zero surveillance which has been done, like the assessment of the antibodies. In fact, if we look at the major metros, they have been found to be positive in almost between 26 to 50% of the people. That means somewhere the antibodies already have developed in these people, and many of these people may not have even developed symptoms. Now, coming to your question about whether a person has developed a symptom in the family, and like how the person should be quarantined. So basically important is the person should quarantine himself or herself, and if the family is not tested positive and the other family members are negative, then the person who has tested positive should be specifically given an area where the person remains in the quarantine, and with all the precautions followed by the family members, like if a food has to be delivered, like the person who's taking care of the such a positive person should wear a mask, or should carry out the other necessary precautions of including social distancing and all that. especially when a positive person is in self-isolation within the family. So whatever the care and precautions are required to be taken, say like if a person would have gone to a COVID care center, that precaution should be taken here. Then in addition to this, when a COVID positive person is there in the family, the person should be monitored for any symptoms, like if is there any additional worsening of symptom, uh, if the person has been asymptomatic or if the symptom has been mild, if there is additional, any oxygen saturation is worsening or improving. So monitor the oxygen saturation if you have a pulse oximeter, and it's very easy to get a pulse oximeter at home. You can in fact attach the pulse oximeter to the middle finger of your hand, which is the most commonest used hand. Like if a person is a right-handy person, then the best way to use the pulse oximeter is the middle finger of the right hand, or vice versa if a person is a left hand. So using a pulse oximeter to monitor the temperature. All of us have got thermometers, so keep a watch on the temperatures, keep a watch on the other symptoms, and good to maintain a small diary where one can make notes that, okay, I have had this much of food, I have had this much of intake, my appetite is still good, or my appetite is worsened than before, or my appetite has improved. So monitor all these parameters at home itself. Besides that, the municipal authorities also will keep checking how the symptoms are worsening or improving, or how the person's health is improving. So these are the ways in which a person should be quarantined at home if a person is tested positive. And all other people, like if there is, say, somebody, a vulnerable person in the family, say an elderly person who is, say, more than 70, 80 years of age, or in addition to it, the person has got some diabetes or other risk factors, then better that person is completely isolated from the person who may have tested COVID positive. Like isolation becomes very important. Social distancing, wearing a mask when you are nursing such a person. All these are the important things. And then sanitizing. The person should keep sanitizing the hands, washing the hands with soap and water adequately, maybe washing the hand with soap for almost about 20 seconds. So it is said that if you count up to 1 to 20, then you may have washed your hand adequately. What I do is, maybe you could just keep rhyming something in your mouth, and then, like, suppose you are doing a jingle bell twice a day, almost twice that time, that means already you would have crossed the threshold of 20-25 seconds. So like a person would not get bored continuously, putting and brushing the hands, so properly washing the hands. So these are the care which should be taken. Good food should be given, whatever of course the person likes, but a good healthy diet, including a good high protein intake, and vitamin C, then vitamin D, as it is suggested, should be taken, minerals to boost the immunity of the person. So these are the important things. If a person is tested positive at home, should be taken care, and others should take all the necessary precautions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your answer. Now, I would like to direct the question to Dr. Naren Kinger, because see, many of the people are asking us, and we are also very keen to know that what lifestyle changes people need to adapt to cope with the COVID-19 things.
Sushilji, thank you very much for having me here, and I'm very happy to be talking to all the alchemites. So I would like to start by saying that structure is very, very important in life. So earlier, if you had been going to office 9 to 5, it's very important that you try to maintain that structure. Don't try to alter the clock. That means अगर आपको रोज रात को 11 बजे या 12 बजे सोने की आदत है, you should try to sleep at 12, not at 2. That's very, very important. Second thing is, keep your routine regular. So if you sleep 12 o'clock at one day and sleep at 2 o'clock on another day, the brain takes time to adapt and adjust. So there's a bio clock which gets disrupted. So it's better that you try to keep the timings as regular as possible. Timing should be consistent for sleeping, for eating food, and for other activities. The third thing I want to say is that you should be socially connected. जिन लोगों को आप प्यार करते हो या जिनसे जो आपके दोस्त हैं, जो आपके नजदीकी हैं, people you trust, you must try to connect with them every day if possible. Use the telephone, video call, messages, whatever way you can keep in touch. Fourth, I think this is a great time we have been given to spend time with our family. कई बार, because of long working hours, people did not spend as much, at least in metro cities, हमें मौका नहीं मिलता था कि फैमिली के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करें. तो आपको ये टाइम मिला है कि आप फैमिली के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करें, शेयर योर इमोशंस, फीलिंग्स विथ योर वाइफ, चिल्ड्रन, पेरेंट्स, neighbors, whatever. For example, in a city like Bombay, we don't even know who our neighbor is. नाम तो दूर की बात है, कौन neighbor है यही नहीं पता होता है. So this is a time when you can actually connect with your neighbors, family, building people, etc. Be physically active every day. I think this is the most important thing I want to say. तो वैसे भी हम लोग सुस्त होते हैं एक्सरसाइज के बारे में, तो ऐसे ये तो मौका मिल गया कि घर पे बैठे रहो, कुछ नहीं करना है, वेजिटेबल बन के रहना है. I think physical activity is very, very important. Don't sit at one place for more than 30-40 minutes. Every 30 minutes get up or every 45 minutes get up for a 5-minute movement. Do activities which are physically safe. आप ठीक है, आप बीच पे नहीं जा सकते हैं या साइकिल नहीं कर सकते हैं, but definitely घर पे योगा तो कर ही सकते हैं. You can do Tai Chi. Now there are a lot of online classes, online portals जो start हो गए हैं, where you can practice. You can actually log on and register, and every day they have different exercise programs. So you can use that. कमिंग टू द वर्क पार्ट, मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि आप अगर कुर्ता पजामा या शॉर्ट्स में पहन के काम करेंगे तो उतना काम में मन नहीं लगता, आदमी एकदम रिलैक्स माइंडसेट में रहता है. सो व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग, आई वुड सजेस्ट दैट यू शुड वेयर शर्ट एंड पैंट एंड ट्राई टू वर्क इन फॉर्मल क्लोथ्स, बिकॉज दैट चेंजेस द माइंडसेट. हमारे जो माइंड फ्रेम है वो सही हो जाता है. अब घर के बाहर नहीं जा सकते, लेकिन घर के बाहर देख तो सकते ही हैं. इट डजंट मीन that I cannot look out of my house. So if you're living in a house which has a balcony or something, every 2 hours maybe you need to go out and look out and sit on your balcony, taking in a little bit of sunlight and also looking in the distance. उससे eye के muscles पे strain कम हो जाता है. I think also do your work when you feel your energy levels are high. See, during the day, अलग अलग लोगों की energy level अलग time पे peak होती है. कोई लोग ज्यादा efficient सवेरे होते हैं, कोई दोपहर को होते हैं, कोई शाम को होते हैं. So looking at your energy level, when are you most productive or when are you feeling very energy, lot of energy, psychological energy, you should do your most important work at that time. Last but not the least, आपके घर में अगर टीवी, मोबाइल, लैपटॉप सब चालू है, जहां तक हो सके जब भी मौका मिले उनको बंद कर दीजिए. आपके आसपास में जो लोग बैठे हैं उनसे थोड़ी बातचीत करने की कोशिश करें. These are my tips.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kinger. And you have rightly said that people should develop a routine of that sleeping routine, eating routines, and then the working routines, correct, which is going to help them. And very rightly said, doctor, that after 40-45 minutes of working on the table, correct, one should take a 5 minutes of walk, or he should go into the balcony and see the open sky, which will give some kind of relaxation. My point, correct, doctor, one is more that nowadays what the feeler which we are also feeling, and we are also getting those kind of vibes from our colleagues, that this work from home is creating some kind of burnout. So what would be your suggestion that why this burnout is happening and how to overcome this?
So sir, मेरे यहाँ तो काफी क्लिनिक में भी लोग आते हैं और फोन पे भी काम बात कर रहे हैं. So सब लोग कह रहे हैं कि हमारे बॉस को लग रहा है कि हम लोग 24 घंटे कंपनी की नौकरी कर रहे हैं. तो कई एम्प्लॉइज का ये कंप्लेन है कि बॉस बोलता है ट्रैफिक जैम में तो फंसे नहीं हो, गाड़ी तो चला नहीं रहे हो, ट्रेन और बस तो पकड़ना नहीं है, तो जब मेरा मूड लगा मैं आपको फोन कर सकता हूँ. मैनेजर्स जूनियर्स को कर रहे हैं, बॉसेस मैनेजर्स को कर रहे हैं. सो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी जेन्युइन कंसर्न. लेकिन आई वांट टू से अ फ्यू थिंग्स ओवर हियर व्हिच आई वुड लाइक टू टॉक अबाउट. नंबर वन इज, लोगों को लग रहा है कि मैं पूरा वक्त काम कर रहा हूँ, एंड दिस लीड्स टू व्हाट वी कॉल एज वर्क फ्रॉम होम बर्नआउट. Now, this causes a lot of stress because आपके पास uncertainty है, कब फोन आ जाएगा, कब मैनेजर का कॉल आ जाएगा, कब क्या होगा. So there is this uncertainty that I'm constantly available. Even today I was talking to a lady who's working for a multinational bank, and she said that I'm getting so much of work that I'm working 16 hours a day. This is because there is no lack of boundaries. Earlier, if you knew that you are available in the office from 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 or 10 to 7, वो एक बाउंड्री बन जाता था इन टर्म्स ऑफ टाइम. और अगर आप घर ऑफिस से निकल गए, आप हमेशा फोन पे बोल सकते थे, सर मैं गाड़ी चला रहा हूँ, 2 घंटे बाद फोन करूंगा. अब तो गाड़ी चलानी है नहीं. सो आई थिंक This lack of boundary has become a thing. थर्ड स्ट्रेस फैक्टर इज कि आपको घर से काम करना पड़ रहा है, तो बीच में बैकग्राउंड में बर्तन धोने की आवाज आ रही है, लोग चिल्ला रहे हैं, बच्चे चिल्ला रहे हैं, बच्चों के क्लासेस चल रहे हैं. सो डेफिनेटली आई थिंक पीपल आर बिगिनिंग टू एक्सपीरियंस दिस वर्क फ्रॉम होम. सो दिस में क्रिएट एन इमोशनल डिस्टेंस, मतलब दे स्टार्ट हेटिंग देयर वर्क. जो काम उनको पहले पसंद आता था, दे बिगिनिंग टू साइकोलॉजिकली डिसलाइक दैट सेम वर्क. वी ऑल्सो नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट कई लोग हेडेक्स, स्टमक एक और गैस वगैरह इन सब चीजों की बात करें. पीपल आर सेइंग कि वी आर फीलिंग टायर्ड वेरी मच, वी आर अनएबल टू कोप, लग रहा है कि मेरी पूरी एनर्जी खत्म हो गई है. बट देर इज अ सिचुएशन हियर दैट हमको इसको एक थोड़े पॉजिटिव तरीके से सोचना है कि इससे आपको एक फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी मिल रही है, इन द सेंस कि आपको अपने घर को और परिवार को टाइम देने का मौका मिल रहा है. You're getting a chance to spend time with your family, loved ones, near and dear ones. Earlier, if you spent 3 hours commuting, those 3 hours are saved and you can do things with your family. You're avoiding being stuck in a traffic jam. रस्तों पे buses में धक्के नहीं खा रहे हैं, और आपकी actually respiratory health. So very funny part is COVID is affecting your respiratory health, but being stuck in a traffic jam also affects your respiratory health. तो एक तरह से COVID का फायदा यह है कि आपको कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड इनहेल नहीं करना पड़ रहा है. So it's a very, very positive thing in that sense. Now, there is a situation which has certain things, there have been certain studies which have been done, and it says that work from home actually benefits employees. It increases their productivity, it leads to healthier lifestyle, and it eliminates the daily travel. So there is definitely positivity. लेकिन जो repetitive tasks हैं, जो लोग repetitive काम, जैसे accountants हैं, जो काम आप repetitively कर रहे हैं, ऐसे काम वर्क फ्रॉम होम से ज्यादा नहीं प्रोडक्टिव होते हैं. बट क्रिएटिव जॉब्स विच रिक्वायर दैट यू नीड टू थिंक आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स और ऑल दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स are getting more boost. So it's proven that work from home is good for creative jobs. So आप मैनेजर्स का प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है कि एम्प्लॉय घर पे है, अब उसका काम मॉनिटर नहीं कर सकते हैं. वो कर रहा है कि नहीं, वो बोल रहा है कर रहा हूं, लेकिन कर रहा है कि नहीं इसकी कोई गारंटी नहीं, जबकि आंख के सामने दिख रहा है. सो आई थिंक there are two aspects to it. What I would suggest, what really helps over here is that we need to create boundaries. मतलब you create a space and a time कि भाई इस टाइम पे मैं अवेलेबल हूं, आप जहां से बैठ के काम कर रहे हो, एक अच्छी कुर्सी ले लीजिए जहां पे आप कंफर्टेबली बैठ सकते हैं. आपको एक स्केड्यूल बनाना पड़ेगा कि इस टाइम से इस टाइम के बीच में मैं फैमिली को वक्त दूंगा, या एक फिक्स लंच टाइम होगा, उस टाइम में कॉल्स अटेंड नहीं करूंगा. अपनी तबीयत का ध्यान रखिए, मेक श्योर दैट यू एक्सरसाइज. एंड आई थिंक वेन एवर यू फील टायर्ड, आई वुड से टेक वन डे ऑफ. यू कैन से अप्लाई फॉर लीव कि भाई आज के दिन मैं काम नहीं करने वाला, आई वांट वन डे ऑफ, which is okay. I think companies will give you that one day off. This is my answer to this question.
Anthony, would you like to add something on this?
Dr. Finger has rightly said that we need to draw boundaries and at least 1 day or 2 days in a week where we should be not working. That will help us relieve the stress. So, but my question to Dr. Kinger is that, so we have talked about we as employees and you are working from home. But in each of the homes, there are also other family members also. Like, for example, we got mom, dad, senior citizens. Now, the senior citizens are the ones who are the most impacted because they are missing their morning routine. Like, they go for a morning walk or for an evening walk, or they go to the markets. Now, that is totally stopped. So, they are the ones, who are most irritated now. So, how do we speak to them?
No, I think, see, what your senior citizens really want is somebody to explain to them. See, in their life, they did not have this kind of a situation. What we need to highlight is that this is a very, very unique kind of a situation, and it is not affecting just our city or our state or our country, but this is an international kind of a pandemic. So one thing is highlighting the severity of the thing. The second thing is how you communicate. I think, Anthony, it's very important. The elders in the family want to be communicated with respect and clarity. So if your communication is little positive, whereby you're not shouting at them or you're not being disrespectful, I think a lot of the elderly will listen to you. The third part is because we are not in that helpless state. A lot of old people are helpless in the sense they cannot do certain things. So we tell them don't do, but we are not doing anything for them. So for example, if they want groceries or they want medicines or they want certain things to be arranged for them, it is up to the younger people to make sure that either there's, suppose your parents are not living with you. You make sure that you arrange for that to be sent to their house, or there's a service whereby the things are sent to them, whereby they don't really need to venture out. Fourth is this, the old people anyway feel lonely and isolated. So they have this need to connect. Now, if you tell them कि किसी से बात मत करो और चुपचाप घर पे बैठ के टीवी देखो, there's a sure short way of inviting depression. Okay, so this need to connect. So maybe if as children we reach out to them, we communicate with them, we make ourselves more accessible to them, making a video call every day or making a phone call every day or making our children talk to them or getting them engaged in something whereby they feel that, they no longer have to take public transport or go here or go there. And if their health checkups are done, done from home and things like that, a lot of elderly people will respond to this. So I think it is up to the younger generation to communicate the severity of the situation.
Thanks, sir. So here one more thing, like in your earlier question, you said, now since we have this opportunity of spending more time at home, we need to interact better. So, sir, if you can just elaborate more, what are the types of behavioral changes which we should bring about? Like, for example, now we are spending more time at home with the children, with the neighbors, and with the spouse. What is the kind of mindset we need to have to adapt to this new normal?
So, if you ask any woman in this country, one of her earlier her biggest complaint was that my husband doesn't spend time at home. Now her biggest complaint will be that my husband doesn't help me at home. So one of the biggest mindsets I think I would like to advise over here is start helping your wife or your mother or the women at home with some of the household works. There's a study which says that Indian men do the least amount of housework in the world. Okay. Now, I know it's nothing to be proud of, but I think we need to become more aware about helping our women because you need to understand that, earlier they had some free time whereby, you went away to work and your child went away to school and the ladies at home had 2, 3, 4 hours. Now everybody is at home. So it's tremendous pressure on the women at home. So I think one of the biggest mindset changes I would advise is working and helping your wives, working with and helping your wives at home. Second thing, maybe I think men need to learn cooking. In my opinion, a lot of men need to learn cooking. So once in a while, every week maybe, you tell your wife that I'm going to prepare the food. Sure, nobody may eat the food or people may find it not so tasty as it regularly is. But I think it will give your wife 3-4 hours off from the day-to-day pressure of making the food. Third, I think men need to spend more time spending time with the children. They can play with the children, they can do some hobby classes, they could do art and craft, they could take up their studies, they could make sure. So for example, a lot of women have fear that we are not good at math and my husband is very good at math, so-called science student and all that. And maybe it's time that, husband puts in his bit and helps the lady with, or the child with math and so on and so forth. Coming to parents, I think sometimes, there are issues which are suppressed because we keep on saying, "Arey, busy hu, kal baat karenge, baad mein baat karenge." So doing some small household chores which will bring about the quantum that you are really responsible towards the family. I think this is an opportunity for that.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Please go ahead.
So when you made that statement that husbands should start cooking, I'm sure most of the ladies in the audience they would have been very happy now. So
Yeah.
I think
I want the husbands to be happy also, Anthony.
Well said, sir. In fact, now I would like to, please. Yeah. I would like to direct one question to Dr. Akhilesh that is regarding, Doctor, what are your views on the current medical management of COVID and what is the status of vaccine development? This question is a little bit longer, right? So what is the current management of of COVID? What is the status of vaccine development? And when do you foresee that the things will normalize for us?
I'll take the third question first.
Okay, right, sir.
When the things would normalize. So because that's the $1 million question, even so. As I said, in a country like 130 crores and where the testing is increasing day by day. In fact, the stats say that now the testings have gone beyond almost 2 crores, which is, I believe, one of the largest testing which would have been done globally. So the numbers which have come up, which is 20 lakh plus against the testing and the overall population, I would say that the numbers are still stable, and you would see more numbers going up. So there's nothing to be alarmed about the numbers going up, because now you're seeing every time you're watching and you're getting a news that today there were 57,000 and then 52,000 and 53,000. So in the last 1 week, India had the largest number. So, media has a lot of masala to add to, a lot of these ingredients to add to the kind of a fuel to the fire, which already is there in each one of us, being kind of, trying to understand how the virus is, and being a little fear factor. So against the infectivity rate, yes, the infectivity rate is high. The numbers will definitely go up. It's not that the numbers is going to be down. So as I said already, the most important thing is the way it would start to plateau off. So I think already the numbers which we are seeing over the next month or so, I believe by say in a month or two, we should start seeing them, getting stable. We are seeing that some of these numbers are already stabilizing in some of the larger metro cities, because the infectivity rate was so high earlier. By the time already the testing has been done, some of those people who were tested positive have turned negative also. But the serosurveillance shows that they have antibodies against COVID, which means that when they were without symptoms, they already had the infection and their body had developed antibodies. And now there are such percentage which was earlier, like in Delhi it was 36%, in Mumbai, in some of the areas in the slums it was more than 50%, in the little elite areas it was around 18 to 20%. So the serosurveillance is showing that already this has impacted. So the thing should start stabilizing over the next 2 to 3 months is what I believe, but nobody can predict, because this is something even the best of the epidemiologists are trying to talk about it and model it. It's very difficult to predict, but there's nothing alarming I would want to say when you see the numbers going up, kind of the number of population we already have in our country. Now, coming to the other question you asked about the protocols for treatment. So the treatment protocols, and I think one good thing for India, what has happened is the kind of isolation which has kept us in lockdown, or whatever you call in isolation, has seen the peak already settled in the other parts of the country, in the other countries, sorry, in the other geographies, like in the globe. Already, like you see where it hit US or Italy and other countries, and they were not following maybe the procedures as it was required. So now we are already on a curve where people have already learnt about it. The virus has taught itself how one has to deal with it, and over a period of time, protocols for treatment have evolved significantly. So I think we are now in a better position where there are very key protocols already developed. There is a protocol if somebody is hospitalized, there are treatments clearly available for people who are hospitalized, and there is called as CORAD scoring based on the CT scans, and also the scoring based on the WBC count, the lymphocyte and the neutrophil ratios, which are predictive, and also on the respiration oxygen saturation, where one would look at whether it's a severe disease or a moderately severe disease. So if a person is hospitalized and it is a severe disease, then normally the person, it is being seen these days that most of the people may not even require a ventilator. In fact, there was a recent stat published about a couple of weeks back or little more, that less than 0.38% of the people went on to the ventilators. In fact, now they are even saying that you may put the person in the upside down position, lying down on the belly, and then give the oxygen through a nasal cannula, and that itself can help to build up the oxygen saturation when a person is admitted into a hospital. I'm talking of some very, very rare, less than almost 1% of the cases who may get hospitalized, 1 to 2%. And again, in those patients, there is a clear protocol, like based on the positivity detected, based on the viral load which is detected. Uh, there is a way you could start the patient on remdesivir intravenous, and then later on taper off, and then continue the patient on another antivirals like favipiravir. At the same time, if there is an excessive inflammation, there are drugs like tocilizumab, which is available based on the interleukin 6, which may be seen as a biomarker, and based on the inflammatory markers which may be seen in a person. So there are clear inflammatory markers available, like C-reactive protein is one of the important inflammatory markers. So a very well-defined protocol is now available with based on a very well-defined laboratory investigations and other investigations, where a patient can clearly be very well managed if a patient is also a case of a severe COVID infection or a severe respiratory uh, symptoms associated with COVID. So this is a very rare population which I'm talking about. But if a person is like, most of the people which are seen are like, most of them are asymptomatic. In fact, in India, the ratio of asymptomatic is significantly higher, and these could be around 90% as well, 92%. So who are asymptomatic, they have to be monitored, as I was talking about a person who is at home but positive, and they need to be monitored. And in some instances, the medical treatments which can be given to them are like antivirals like favipiravir, or the other treatments, ivermectin and all, which are though not established treatment, but these have shown to have some uh, value in managing these cases. Coming to the patients who may have moderate symptoms, these are the patients, there is a clear protocol defined, there's a clear laboratory findings and continuous monitoring of these patients, which can be done at a small center also, or such patients are also being, sometimes managed at home under a close medical supervision. So there are antivirals like, say, you can give an oral dose of favipiravir starting at a very high dose on the first day, and then start reducing the dose from the second day onwards, and managing the patient up to 7 to 14 days based on the extent of the viral infection which may have seen. Then there are other drug treatments like ivermectin, which may be given along with doxycycline. So there are various protocols which are being used and which are being available, and which have shown significantly to improve the outcome in patients and reduce the ratio of positivity and turning these patients from positive to negative, which is a good part. And that's what I say, when we have come up on the curve in India, I think already the world has taught us a lot. Even we have learnt a lot from a lot of our hospital management, which has happened in the patients earlier. And this has really enabled to save a majority of their lives. Now, we keep saying that so much of death rates and all. I can share some experiences, like a patient. I know a lot of these, many of these hospitals. Like, we had a patient who had a cardiac arrest, and a patient died of cardiac arrest. But and it was not basically a COVID-related complication, but the patient tested COVID positive, so it got tagged as a COVID-related death. So it may not necessarily be a COVID related. So the infectivity rate of the virus is so high that if a person is already hospitalized, there's a high possibility that the person may already have contacted. But the actual basic problem is something else. So I'm just trying to divert here to give an idea like how the mortality ratios and the graphics you keep seeing, maybe shown as COVID related. Of course, we have to take precautions and all the care, but these need not necessarily be COVID related mortalities. So the protocols of management, protocols of treatment have very clearly been established now. And this is something which is a time where we have come up on the curve and we have a very well defined protocols. I think this was your second question. I'm sorry, I forgot your third question you had asked, Richard.
In fact, I was just asking more about this vaccine development, that what is the status and when it may come.
Okay, that's the most interesting part. So we can keep making stories around it. So, you know, in fact, Oxford, as we all know, is much ahead in the race. They have finished the phase 2 clinical trials. They're almost on the verge of finishing, and then they would start the phase 3 trials. Any vaccine, unlike earlier, it used to take at least say 2 to 3 years or maybe 5 years in the very erstwhile times, it used to be 10 years. Now it's been very fast tracked. So the Oxford vaccine, I think we should see it somewhere towards the end of the year, if not September as what they were claiming. Uh, and then I think we also have access, like, some of the companies in India have been given access to manufacture those vaccines and partner with them, because the kind of capacity we have in India is one of the largest capacity to make the vaccine in the world, where this company would develop the vaccine and 50% of this would be delivered to the Indian population. There is another vaccine which is already in the development and which has shown to be very effective, is the Moderna vaccine, and which is also getting into the phase 3 trial. There is already an indigenous vaccine in India which is which is getting through the phase 2 trial right now, and will soon enter to the phase 3 trial soon. So somewhere towards the end of the year, or maybe a little before that, or maybe a month or two plus or minus, we should see the vaccine. There are almost more than 27 vaccines in the clinical stages, in the early stages as well as in the phase 2 stages, and more than almost 79 drugs being tested for COVID, and encouraging results have been seen with those drugs. So vaccine is something which should come very soon. But most importantly, as what Dr. Kinger was saying, is we have to stay positive. That is the most important vaccine within us. Have faith in us and keep boosted ourselves. That's the most important thing. No other vaccine can work like our own indigenous vaccine, because nothing can match the immunity what we have within us.
So
Right.
speaking
Thank
about
you very much, Dr.
speaking about immunity and boosting them, I think already there are a lot of questions which have started coming in. Most of the questions, what they want to know is how do we boost our immunity in the current scenario?
That's the
Who was this
most
question to?
So this question is for Dr. Akhilesh.
Uh,
maybe you can pick it up, Dr. Kinger, as well,
no. We'll
I,
come there.
because psychology plays a very, very key role in it.
I'll add, sir. After you finish, I'll add.
Sure. So it's a very, very interesting and the most beaten question, I would say. And somebody was telling the other day that people are selling anything and everything in terms of marketing immunity. So people are marketing immunity boosting sanitizers. I don't know how sanitizers can be immunity boosting. So anyway, jokes apart, uh, see, I think the most important thing is immunity is within, and there are, we already have immunity from our birth, and another immunity, so there are two types of immunity: acquired and adaptive. So the most important, how we maintain our lifestyle, how we continue to take adequate rest of at least 72 hours, good sleep in the night. Then how we, most other important thing is doing exercise. It has been very well published, and there is a Harvard paper which also got published. In fact, at least 30 minutes of yoga per day, 30 to 60 minutes of yoga per day, or an equivalent exercise helps to boost the immunity significantly. In fact, that plays almost 70 to 80% of the part in boosting immunity. The reason being that during these sessions which we can do ourselves in these times, early morning, getting up early morning, keeping a good disciplined lifestyle is something which will help. And doing this sessions of yoga, they actually help to release endorphins and enkephalins and certain neurotransmitters. So these are the ones which help to really boost up a lot of our positivity within us, and they also boost up the immunity. In fact, there has been shown to be a impact on the T lymphocytes of yoga. There's been a significant improvement in the activity of the T lymphocytes, and this is one of the outcome of the Harvard universities which they have done. So one should do, a proper yoga in that case. Now, people will ask what yoga, what therapy. So there are deep inspiration, expiration exercises like pranayam. If you go to, Google and you find out, you'll get tubes, but follow the right YouTubes for doing this and picking up the right yoga sessions, and sweat out for at least 30 to 60 minutes daily. You will feel energetic throughout the day. I'm sure you would feel completely energetic throughout the day after you really do that a very rigorous morning 30 to 60-minute yoga exercise. In fact, patients who are positive, I forgot to add that yoga and exercise also are a part of their protocol of management. And many of these patients who actually carried out yoga and did it religiously, they may not be able to do it as vigorously as like in healthy people, but they still manage to do it, say for half an hour, 1 hour, they improve much faster. So this has been a significant impact, I would say. The other important thing is the our lifestyle in terms of, if one of the worst thing what has been noticed for obese is, COVID is that impacts a lot on the obese people as well as on people who are smokers. So giving up smoking, I think this is the best time or the best excuse to give up smoking if nothing else comes up. So, that's the best thing to do if we can, because it's impacted badly the lungs of the people who are smokers. The second thing is about boosting immunity with some immune enhancers. So vitamin C, 500 milligram to 1 gram per day. Ideal is 1 gram per day. If you are able to tolerate 1 gram of vitamin C per day, taking that daily dose of vitamin C. Second is vitamin D. Like what we have 60,000 units of vitamin D, like we have Uprise D3. So taking vitamin D on a weekly basis for the adults, and as for the pediatrics, for the children, what is being proposed can be taken by the children. So that's a very important vitamin for further, and it has shown significantly having an impact on the immunity. Though there could be articles written on the other side, and you may find various other news sometimes trying to make it confounding, but it definitely has an impact. Then a mixed minerals and vitamins which are available in various vitamin and mineral combinations. We should take that. So that also will help to boost the immunity. And if in today's scenario, like in areas where it gets little more colder after the rains, or if you're caught a little cold, so taking, and nothing wrong, like taking steam inhalation and doing hot water, salt water gargles can help to keep, that completely free from any of those infections. So these are the key practices which one should follow. A good amount of good night sleep of at least 6 to 7 hours, 8 hours maybe, and then taking a good yoga session yourself and exercise, whatever you would want to do, the yogas, what best you can do, adding pranayams to it, which are the deep inspiration, expiration exercises. And then the third is the consumption of these immunity boosters, vitamin C, vitamin D. Then there is curcumin also, which is available. But getting good curcumin of at least 1 to 2 grams is important, which should be bioavailable in the body. So these are the key, in addition to your staying positive. And over to you, Dr. Kinger, to add those important tips there.
So I think Dr. Akhilesh has covered most of the things. So what I think in brief, I would like to say this: immunity is not a OTC drug. Okay, it's not available over the counter. It's a lifestyle issue. Okay, if you are sleeping well, if you are eating well, if you are exercising well, if you are managing your thoughts, if you are managing your emotions, if you're not doing something which is harming your body, which includes alcohol, smoking, etc., if you are able to maintain a tranquil mind, that means you manage your emotions in a way that you are able to be productive. I think in the long run it works. I think exercise is the key. I think in India, unfortunately, we have never highlighted the importance of exercise as it has been highlighted now. Exercise helps you in building up your immunity. Exercise helps you in reducing your anxiety. Exercise helps you in managing your depression. Exercise helps you in managing your negative emotions, so on and so forth. And exercise adds 5 to 10 years to your life. So if you really want to live longer, I cannot highlight the importance of exercise over here. Like he spoke about yoga and other things, definitely a meditation, yoga, etc. also help. So what I'm trying to say that there are no shortcuts to immunity. If you're thinking that whenever there's a crisis, I'll go out, buy a tablet and I'll develop my immunity, I'm sorry, it's a misconception.
Uh, in fact, Dr. Kinger, that pertaining to your this sentence of that good night's sleep and stress. So I would like to extend one question which has been come from the audience as well, and we have also when we are making the questions, we have also made that question is that how to overcome fear, anxiety, and stress during these times, and especially if this fear, anxiety, and stress is coming because of the job insecurity and the financial insecurity.
Okay, so luckily all of y'all are in the pharma industry. So you should consider yourself lucky because I think pharma is going to grow like nobody's business. India invests only 2% of its GDP in healthcare. And I think all good countries or all countries which are most of the countries invest about 12 to 15% of their GDP. So we are really lagging behind. So there's a huge need for hospitals. There's a huge need for pharma companies. There's a huge need for development in this industry. So first of all, those of you who are currently working in this industry don't need to worry. And even me, I don't need to worry because we are going to be overloaded as we can see. The second part is coming to job and financial insecurity. Let us understand that this is a specific thing which has occurred, which is unheard of. So like we've been reading all over, every 100 years, events happen which throws the entire status quo out of the functioning, So I think this pandemic has really done that. So we need to understand that we need to manage our anxiety in this time. Now, what is anxiety? Anxiety is a fear of the unknown, fear of something bad happening, fear of, losing control. So all of us need to first of all learn to practice our breathing. If you focus on your breathing, you make sure that you're taking deep breaths, gradually your anxiety will come down. Anxiety is also outcome of thinking. Thoughts are not negative or positive. Thoughts are thoughts. It is the meaning that we give to that thought that makes it positive or negative. So a lot of people are worried, what if I lose my job? If you lose a job, well, maybe you'll get another job. We don't know. But this fact that what if I lose, it's not that your company has told you you're going to lose your job. It's your own internal thought. If you manage this thought that I am asking myself, I'm only answering. Nobody's asking me that, what if I fire you from your job? So it is an internal statement that I'm making and I'm coming to the judgment. So we need to first of all pay attention to what we are thinking. The third part is there is this WhatsApp university. Okay, so everybody gets on WhatsApp and there are these fearful 10,000 आदमी लोग फायर हो गया, ब्रिटानिया ग्लूकोज का फैक्ट्री बंद हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. Continuously we are getting bombarded by all these scary things. Please pay attention to what messages you read. Okay, if you are watching TV, don't go on television which is constantly telling इतने लोग मर गए, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. Primarily, don't believe unless it's coming from a trustworthy source and somebody you know, somebody you trust. Coming to the financial insecurity, yes, there are pay cuts, but you need to understand that pay cut is because there's no income or certain companies are struggling with their financials. When the financials get all right, maybe your salary will go back to normal, maybe the company will give you a bonus, something will happen. I think it's a question of riding this time out and making sure that you're realistic. I think accepting reality is the key to manage your anxiety. So this is a stressful time, and if you're experiencing heightened stress and anxiety, please reach out to somebody, reach out to a counselor, reach out to a friend, reach out to your manager, reach out to your elder in the family, somebody who has been through different turbulent times, and they will help you to manage yourself. We need to reach out to people we trust. That's what we need to do.
So speaking about reaching out people whom we trust. So this query is for Dr. Kinger. So it has come from the field. Like, when we go to the field to meet doctors who are very close to us, earlier they used to meet us. But now they are refusing to meet us. They're not picking up our calls. They say come later, not now. So many of the people are feeling dejected and depressed. How do we tackle this?
So I think first of all you need to treat doctors as human beings. Just like you are going through your stress, doctors are going through their stress. A lot of doctors have been told to sit at home. A lot of doctors who are older have been told not to come to the hospitals. Doctors are getting midnight calls. Doctors are getting late night calls. Doctors' sleep and appetites are affected. So there's a lot of stress. And I also feel that every doctor who's working for example, when we go and work in the hospital, just putting on the PPE and taking it out and all itself is a argue, and you need three people to help you to do it because you're not used to all this. So what we need to really understand is please start looking at that this doctor is going through a difficult time, and if he's saying come and talk to me later, I can go and talk to him later. We need to be little more empathetic towards these doctors because their whole energy is focused on dealing with people who are critical, people who are struggling, and generally we are finding that more and more people are anxious and making calls one after the other. For every patient who's suffering or who's ill, there are 20 relatives who are calling in constantly. If you've gone to any hospital, you'll find 500 people waiting outside the hospital. So let us understand that doctors are actually going through a very, very tough time. And maybe it's better that we leave them alone. Maybe instead of trying to meet them, send them a message, wish them a good morning. Make sure that you maintain your relationship and your communication because your relationship has built over the years. It's not that overnight the doctor is going to forget you or your brand. So I think what you need to understand is treat them with little more love, affection and sympathy. It will help your relationship.
Right, please, sir. So, and sir, Dr. Kinger, one more query which has come. This has come from one of the depot managers. He says, in my entire society, I'm the only one who goes to work daily. I go early and I come back late in the night. As a result, the other society members are looking at me with a lot of distrust, and this is causing stress to me and to my family. Sir, please suggest what to do in this.
So I think same thing happened to me. Like I was going every day to the clinic, I was going to the hospital, and a lot of people in the building would kind of look at you like, who's this guy and what does he think? He's putting all of us at risk. So I think what we need to do is communicate. These are people we are living with. So we need to explain to them that this is the nature of my job. It's like, if you're a fireman or if you're a police guy, police guys are working 18, 20 hours a day. Okay, doctors are working 18, 20 hours a day. So these are the job requirements. So I think what needs to happen is maybe you're part of the essential services, you see. So people need to understand that. Now some people will not understand, some people will not cooperate, but you need to make sure that you communicate this in a way, in a very respectful manner that this is what I need to do or this is what I do and this is what I'm going to continue doing. You need to give the message direct and strongly that this is what I'm going to continue doing because this is nature of my job. I think in our country, if you read the Gita, they say karna zaruri hai. We keep on focusing on work. Treat your work as worship. So yes, all temples, mosques, gurudwaras, everything is shut down. Your work is your worship. So this is your way of paying obeisance to God. I think we need to make that very clear to people around us.
Very right message, doctor, that work is worship. Very right message, doctor, that work is worship. And see, one question which is very interesting, which has come up, that we may be able to manage our own anxieties. But one person from the field has asked, if I'm going out for the work, then how I should counsel or how should I manage the anxiety of my near and dear ones about me?
So, I was called to the hospital after 60 days to come and see a child who had stopped eating for 15 days. Now, and this call came at 9 o'clock in the night. So I had to reach the hospital at 10:30. First of all, I had to go through four police nakabandis, kidhar ja raha hai, kyun ja raha hai. And when I was leaving, my wife said, "Do you really need to go?" So I said, my wife said, "Why are you going?" I said, "Because I got a call from the hospital." And her point was that, what happens if you don't go? Just say I'm not coming. But I think it became very important because I explained to her that this is what I do for a living. And this is what I've done for a living for 35 years or 34 years. And I need to continue doing this because we can't just be there in good times. We need to do our work in bad times also. It doesn't mean that just when the going is good, I ride the organization, and when it's a trouble thing, I leave the organization. We need to be very clear that we need to stand up to a value system. I think the value system here is that if this hospital has stood by me and helped me generate work in certain times, it's time for me to go do my work. And I think I had to actually sit and convince. And the next question that I actually asked my wife was, how long do you expect me not to go to the hospital? And she said, well, someday I will go. And I think today is the day. That was the way in which I explained. I think what we really need to do is communicate to our family members, and we need to first of all accept that their feeling anxious is very valid. Their feeling worried about our well-being is very valid. Don't devalue, don't shout at them, don't say you're crazy, what do you think, I will lose my job, etc., etc. Understand that their emotions are very valid. They love you, they care for you, they want to be there for you, and they want what your well-being. They're wishing your well-being. But at the end of the day, they also will stand by you when you communicate effectively and empathetically. I think we need to get the family on the same page. That's what we need to do.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naren Tingar, for this answer because this is very pointed and it is a query of many. And the way you have answered this, I'm sure that it has given the guidance to various people. My question now to Dr. Akhilesh is that what are the precautions our field colleagues who are working and meeting doctors uh, should take in their day-to-day work? And this question, Dr. Akhilesh Kadek, I would like to ask in three parts: that what precautions our field colleagues should take, what is your suggestion for the precautions to be taken by our manufacturing colleagues, and what is the precaution our those colleagues should take who are coming to the office for the work?
So, I think this is important, and if we demonstrate that adequate precautions are taken to the even to the family members, they themselves will, be appreciative that you are caring for yourself, and that is how you care for others. Just to extend to the last point, what Dr. Kinger was saying. So when somebody is leaving the house, ensuring that you're wearing a mask, the mask should be a right mask, like a three layered cloth mask, or a similar mask to the N95 without a valve, because now it is being said that the mask with a valve can actually do more damage to the others than to yourself, because you're exhaling through that valve. It may protect you, but better that we take a mask which is N95 but without a valve, and it helps to breathe you appropriately. So sometimes very simple tips, like if somebody is driving with a mask, the fog comes on the spectacles and it becomes difficult to watch out. So just ensure that you're wearing it properly. Don't touch your mask at any point of time outside unless you sanitize your hands. Clean your hands properly. If at all you have to touch your mask, you have to adjust the mask after sanitizing your hands. You adjust it by touching the portion which is near the ear lobe, that is the string of the mask, without touching the front portion of the mask. I've seen many people touching the front portion of the mask and trying to wear the mask below the chin. In fact, that can carry some infections from the bacteria which may be below the chin itself. So, because that could be an area which is still contaminated. So, wearing proper mask and maintaining social distancing. What I'm observing these days when I'm going out and especially traveling to various places, is many of the people outside, especially who are not so well versed about these precautions, they don't use masks. Like you find people standing on say bus stops or standing people somewhere outside near the shops or on the shops or or in the other places in the other offices sometimes they may not be wearing a mask. So maintain a proper distance from such people. And if at all you have to communicate, you have to discuss, request them that they should wear a mask themselves, because there's nothing harm, and it's clearly established that one has to wear a mask when you're talking, especially when you're communicating with each other. If at all you feel that you feel like coughing or sneezing, sanitize, or if you sanitize your hands, use your handkerchief, and then don't do that in the mask. But if it is an urge, then you may have to do it. Change the mask if you feel it. The mask has been worn for a very long period, especially in the field areas when you're working in very high temperatures, or in these monsoon times. If the mask has got wet, if you're not taken a proper care of an umbrella or something, then you may have to change. So carry the extra masks with you, change the masks. And so these are the precautions in the field. And in addition to this, the field people, when they are going to the hospitals, uh, uh, best is to fix up the appointments with the doctors at a place where it is convenient for the doctors and the medical representative, field personnel, to also go and interact with the doctors without going into very deep pockets of the hospitals, which may or may not be sanitized. But one good thing is hospitals are practicing a lot of sanitization procedures these days. In fact, these sanitization procedures are more helpful. In fact, rather than going to the markets and all, I find sometimes hospitals being more safer because they are more sanitized. So be at an area if you're going into a hospital clinic where say the clinic is not into a very deep pocket. If you're going into some very deep pocket, you may wear the mask properly. Don't get scared about anything. And then when you're coming back, sanitize your hand. Carry the sanitizers with you. There are now alcohol rubs available, more than 70% alcohol, which actually, if you rub them appropriately, you sanitize the hands. If your hands are wet, try to dry them off first before you pour a sanitizer on it, because then the sanitizer will not evaporate and it may not work. Or if your hands are wet and if you have to sanitize, then use soap and water to sanitize your hands. So this is generally, when you're in the field, when you're traveling, try to avoid going two people on a bike. Try to be one. Still, the guidelines have changed and they say that two people can travel, but try to still be a single person on the bike, or if you're in the car, be say like not more than two or three people in the vehicle. If you're using a public transport, and if you're touching any other areas, then sanitize your hands. Do not touch your mask again there. Maintain a distance from the other people. So these are the precautions while traveling when you have to take. And when you go to your place, like if you when you have the lunch times or something, better to carry your own food with you from your house. If not, then better to have hot food which is cooked fresh in any of the nearby restaurants, or a good restaurant or a good hotel, and pick up that and eat it on a clean utensil, and then again wash and sanitize your hands properly. So when having the food, also try to have a good healthy food. Avoid using those pizzas and everything, which can also cause a little more gastric discomfort. So good to have a good healthy food, a cooked fresh food. Do not eat uncooked salads. Avoid using any of the maybe unsanitized cutlery. If you're carrying a sanitizer, sanitize the cutlery, but then ensure that the sanitizer doesn't stay there, because that itself could be a chemical contamination. So you follow these precautions when you're having your food outside. When you're coming back, like for, and this applies to the field as well as the manufacturing, or anybody who's going to office. When you're coming back, give a call to your home that I'm coming back. I should be reaching in so much of time, so that they keep the they are ready, that they watch you and keep the doors open so you don't touch anything. Uh, Keep your footwears outside before you enter inside. Or if you cannot, then sanitize your footwear. Like you can put some sanitizer on the soles of the footwear and then clean it off with a tissue, and the tissue can be safely disposed of in the dustbin. Or if it is any other thing which can be washed out, you can straight go to the bathroom and then remove that footwear there, or even your entire clothes, and you can wash it there and then take a good refreshing bath, which will help you to completely come out of that not only anxiety, but even it will help you to sanitize your entire body. If you think, the biggest fear is in the mind. When we go out, we feel that the entire environment around us carries it, but it's not the case. So even if you take a bath, you take a good bath, you take a good refreshing bath, that will help your mind to clear off that, okay, fine, now I'm okay, and I'm completely free. When you're washing your clothes, say in a washing machine, or you're doing it yourself, clean it off separately. Don't mix it with the other clothes. Wash it off separately in the washing machine with a proper hot water being maintained in that, and the detergents used. And again, clean your hands properly anytime in the house. So don't develop paranoia. Don't get paranoid about things. Otherwise, you'll develop an OCD. I'm sure Dr. Kinger would be seeing a lot of OCD cases because of this. So you don't need to panic. Again, I'm telling you, don't develop paranoid. The people who have been very reckless and very careless, I have seen those are the people who have really contracted. I think most of us are very well aware, very well educated, and very well know the background, how to protect ourselves, how to take all the precautions. If you're going to a factory, other than the other things which I just said, the traveling and the other aspects, try to clean off your foot there, and then in the factory, I think we have kept a good foot board where you can rub off your footwear and then try to sanitize. Maintain distance in the factory or in the manufacturing unit or in the offices against the others. I have seen worst thing is people unknowingly, they don't do it knowingly, but they when we walk aside, they even brush against others. So avoid that. Avoid doing it. Don't do it. Maintain proper distancing. Again, when you enter into the office or the manufacturing premises, wash your hands properly, clean your hands properly. As I said, you can sing Jingle Bell twice a day when you're twice the time when you're washing your hands, or any other rhymes, so that you do it properly. And ensure that your sanitization is done. When you are having food in an office or in a manufacturing premises, like those days will come back when you can have food with your friends, or along with others. Now I think it's time that you should have it alone, because that's the time when you open your mask, remove your mask, and have your food. So better to do that separately. Don't crowd the cafeteria. Too many people should not be there. Again, when you're having your food. So carry all these precautions, and other things will apply the same, as I said, like returning back to the either the office or the manufacturing premise. So these are the empty precautions which, if we carry, I'm sure nobody would really get affected. And that will also give a lot of confidence to your family members that, look, here is a guy who's following so many precautions. Because when you're coming back, your family members also get scared of you sometimes, because is this the guy who's carrying the infection? So if you show that these are the things which is there, because everything is in the mind, finally at the end of the day, even if you may not be having it. So if you follow all these precautions and it is demonstrated, then I'm sure yourself as well as the entire family would be very comfortable about it.
That was a very comprehensive
Thank you
reply
very much
regarding
for
these
the
safety
elaborate.
precautions. Sir, here one query to Dr. Akhilesh, which has been coming from the audience. So nowadays everybody is using a finger pulse oximeter. So when you're using a finger pulse oximeter, what is the normal oxygen saturation level?
Ideally, it should be above 95. A healthy person would always have a saturation above 95. When it starts dipping below 92, and between 85, it is moderate. Below 85, it starts getting moderately severe. So, but don't panic. Sometimes the battery of your instrument may be low, so it may not show you the reading properly. Okay. So believe in your clinical signs first, that if you're breathing normally and you're not gasping, then don't bother. You may not be having oxygen saturation problem. Best is to, as I said, use the middle finger of the hand which you use the most. Like if I'm a right-handed person, I'll use the middle finger of my right hand. If somebody is a left-handed person, that person can use the middle finger of the left hand. Ensure that the pulse oximeter is applied properly, the battery is proper, everything is proper, and then check the readings. But if you have clinically no problems, you're not gasping, you're not breathless, you're absolutely fine. Don't panic if your pulse oximeter shows a reading below 90.
Right, sir. So another query which has
But
come,
get it tested again, get it evaluated again if you have to. But all just to remove that from your mind.
so another query which has come is that when we are home, indoors, in the office, or maybe when we're traveling in the car, is it that we have to switch off the AC?
Well, it is not use the especially at home, but good to have a fresh air coming in the home. And especially when the monsoon has set in, I think the temperatures have gone down in most of the places, and having a fresh air is always better. To keep your window panes open, of course, not for the mosquitoes, but only for the air. And you can switch on and switch off the AC in between. When you're switching on the AC, try to maintain the temperature somewhere around 24 degrees Celsius of the air conditioning system, and keep the windows still open for the fresh air to come. So you can still keep the AC running with the window panes open, of course with the mosquito nets on that. And in the car, I don't think that's a problem unless you're traveling in a hired cab. You may ask, if you're traveling in a hired cab, you can ask the person to lower the windows if you want. But if you're wearing a mask, ideally that should not be a problem. And normally many of these hired cabs, they sanitize the cabs very properly. But in your own car, if you're traveling alone, or if there is another friend traveling with you, you may still keep the AC on, and in between you can allow the windows down and then keep the fresh air to come. So that is the way you can have on and off in between. But if you're taking rest in the night, you're not going to get up every time and put off the AC. Don't bother about that. Just leave the AC at an optimal temperature. Keep the windows slightly open for some fresh air to come in. I think that should be good enough. As I said, don't get paranoid about anything, everything at only thing is when you are in a mall, when there is a centralized air conditioning, there ensure that you are following adequate precautions of using the mask, and some people use even double mask sometimes, so that's okay. So that's what I would say when you're using the air conditioning.
Right, sir.
Now, one question, sir, which has come for Dr. Kinger. This question has two parts, Dr. Kinger. That first part is that what are your tips on keeping ourselves mentally fit and mentally strong? And second part of the question is, this has come from especially the manufacturing side, that because of being in the essential services, sometimes we have to stay away from our families. Sometimes it is 3 to 4 months also during this COVID times. And even video call is not helping us to get, you can say, emotionally connected with our family members. So in these situations, what we need to do?
Okay, so I'll ask the first question and then I will come to the second question. So obviously, we have to understand that we are not at our productive best. This pandemic and this isolation, being taken by surprise, not knowing that this was going to happen, has impacted all of us. So understanding that, you're not really at your best is because it has taken everybody by surprise. Also, a lot of fear has set in. So anxiety always reduces your efficiency. So we need to understand that we are not efficient currently. So one of the first thing I would suggest is every day set small goals. You can set 3 goals. So you'll make a list of 3 things which I will achieve today, I'll achieve tomorrow. Moment you achieve 3 goals, make a list of another 3 goals which you're going to achieve. So you'll find that if you set these small things, a list of three goals at a time, and you tick them off the paper, it will help you a lot. And this should be manageable goals. Don't set some great goals which you cannot do. So they should be little realistic goals. The second thing which will help us is if you have every day, make sure that you have a work time and you have a relaxation time. Relaxation can be spending time with your family, or it could be watching some TV program or talking to family. It could be playing some games. It could be whatever. So basically, you define what helps you to relax. So maybe listening to music, playing music, whatever. So primarily, make sure that you devote, if you're devoting 8 hours to work, you at least devote 3-4 hours to reading a book or listening to music or whatever. So there should be clear-cut deviation in terms of time for relaxation, for self, and for work. The third part is that actually we have now a lot of platforms. Zoom, there are platforms like Coursera, there is FaceTime. So you can reach out to people. In the past, we didn't have these platforms. You can reach out and you can do certain courses. Somebody is trying to learn a foreign language. So you could learn German, or you could learn French, or you could learn Spanish. Primarily, you can learn something which you have always wanted to learn. Accountants can, learn more about accounting and so on and so forth. Primarily, what we need to do is make sure that you learn something new as during this pandemic. Fourth, make sure that you don't work continuously at a stretch. Work for 25-30 minutes, take a 5-minute break. But what most of us do is we work for 25-30 minutes and we take a 45-minute break. That is not very efficient. Make sure that there should be an alarm at the end of 5 or 7 minutes. That alarm rings and you get back to your work which you have left. While you're not working, make sure that you're physically active. You could be moving around, you could be going to the kitchen, you could be making a cup of tea, or you could drink, whatever. Basically, get up and make sure that you're physically active. Schedule some virtual kind of video calls with your friends. So primarily, connecting with people over social media is a good thing. So now a lot of platforms have come where you can actually get together and play games. So there are multiple games which have come online, where a lot of 20-30 people can get together and play games. So you can do that. That also really helps. I think what I as a mental health professional want to highlight here is mental health. Okay. I think India has really lagged behind in understanding and appreciating the importance of mental health. We have actually neglected our physical health, but mental health is totally taken a backseat. And I think COVID, if it has not taught us anything else, it has definitely taught us that the importance and significance of mental health. For example, in my clinic, when people come in now, we started seeing patients physically. One of the first questions is, sir, इधर सैनिटाइजर कहाँ पे रखा है? जिस आदमी को सैनिटाइजर वर्ड पहले पता नहीं था, अभी आके सीधा पूछते हैं कि सैनिटाइजर कहाँ रखा है? Because their anxiety is so high. And if you tell them कि भाई सैनिटाइजर खत्म हो गया, तो बोला सर मैं कल आता हूँ आपसे मिलने को. So understand that anxiety has really peaked, and we need to really become aware that we need to focus on our mental health. Now, what is this mental health? Mental health is an abstract for most. हम लोग छुपाते हैं कि मुझे anxiety हो रहा है, नींद नहीं आ रहा है, डर लग रहा है, दुखी feel हो रहा है, whatever. We keep on trying to cover up. I think it's time that we talk about it and reach out to professional. If there's no professional in your city, reach out to a professional in another city. जैसे आज हम लोग बैठ के इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे इतने लोग बात कर रहे हैं, इसी तरह हम लोग, for example, today I've spoken to 3 patients in the US. Now from US, if they can access me, I'm sure India के लोग तो मुझे access कर ही सकते हैं. So I think it's important that we focus on our mental health. Primarily make sure that your mental state, you don't lose hope and you don't start feeling helpless. हम लोगों को मजबूर नहीं फील होना है और हम लोग अपनी होप को जगाए रखें. That is the key part. Coming to the second part, when you said that a lot of people haven't gone home to meet their families for 4 months or 3 months or 5 months, I think it's a very huge setback, because connecting with family, friends, people whom you love, people who love you, near and dear ones, is very, very important for maintaining one's mental health. And I don't think these video sessions, it's like, imagine हम लोग यही talk अगर face to face कर रहे होते तो उसमें बहुत मजा आता, and we are doing it virtually. There is obviously certain amount of efficiency and efficacy is taken out of it. So I agree 100% कि जो पर्सनली गले मिलने में मजा आता है वो दूर से बात करने में मजा नहीं आता है. लेकिन मजबूरी है, जैसे डॉक्टर अखिलेश ने कहा कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग मेंटेन करना है और वो आपके सेहत के लिए जरूरी है. तो आप अपनी परिवार की सेफ्टी के लिए और अपनी सेफ्टी के लिए इसको कर रहे हैं. What we really need to highlight is that don't lose the connect. Just because you cannot meet people face to face, you can definitely stay in touch. The idea is to stay in touch and to keep communicating. I think that's what I want to highlight. So I understand कि आप अपने परिवार वालों को मिस कर रहे हैं. I understand कि उनसे मिलने की बहुत इच्छा हो रही है. I understand कि lonely feel हो रहे हैं. So I think one of the biggest studies which was done, they are saying that जब ये कोविड खत्म हो जाएगा तो there's going to be a mental health crisis. अचानक आप देखेंगे बहुत सारे लोगों को mental health issues होने वाले हैं. So we will get out of the physical issue, but we'll end up with mental issues. I'm trying to prepare everyone to make sure that they pay attention to their mental health. And please stay healthy, and I'm sure one of these days you'll be able to meet your own family members.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Dr. Kinger, for your answer. And Anthony, I think we have passed 6:30.
The questions don't seem to end. So, but since we are already approaching our time, I suggest that we can take these questions offline and we can get it answered from our expert panelist.
Sure. So now it is almost 6:32. So I would like to invite Soma from our team, who has actually done a lot of hard work to make this webinar successful. So Soma, over to you.
Sushil ji.
Yeah. Yes,
Sushil
sir.
ji, I just want to add one point over here. Okay.
Please go ahead, sir.
Just before Soma ends it, I think हम लोग बहुत सारा नेगेटिविटी एनवायरनमेंट में फैला हुआ है. तो ये इस टाइम पे पॉजिटिव रहना बहुत जरूरी है. तो मैं चाहूंगा कि मैं वो स्टोरीज पढ़ता हूं जहां पे मुझे होप दिखती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हमने ऐसी बहुत सारी स्टोरीज पढ़ी हैं जहां गुरुद्वारों ने लाखों लोगों को रोज खाना खिलाया है. हमने ऐसी बहुत सारी स्टोरीज पढ़ी हैं जहां पे लोगों ने जिनको पहचानते नहीं है उनको घर का भाड़ा देके उनके घर पे पहुंचाया है. हमने ऐसी बहुत सारी स्टोरीज पढ़ी हैं कि पुलिस वालों ने 36 घंटे 50 घंटे खड़े रह के सेवा की है. बहुत सारी स्टोरीज मैं हिमाचल के डीजीपी से सुन रहा था कैसे कोई स्ट्रैंडेड था कोचिन में, उनको हिमाचल में लेके आए. सो एक्चुअली व्हाट वी नीड टू रियली अंडरस्टैंड ओवर हियर is that this is a time when we all need to unite as humanity. We all need to connect together as one. And this is a time when actually we can be kind to other people. अगर आप देख रहे हैं कि कोई दूसरा मुसीबत में है तो उसको आप रीच आउट करिए, उसको आप सपोर्ट करिए, उसकी मदद करिए और आप अपने आप देखेंगे कि आप खुद बहुत अच्छा फील करेंगे. So this is a time when we really need to reach out to the entire humanity. People we know, people we don't know, people we see in trouble. I think that's the biggest message I would like to give everybody.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra Kinger, for this message, because see, what we feed to our mind, actually that becomes the food for the thought. So if the good things are coming and we are listening to these encouraging stories, definitely we will also remain positive. Thank you very much, Dr. Kinger, and over to you, Soma.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I am audible.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I take this opportunity to thank all our honorable panelists and also the honorable moderators to take this show and really make it so interesting. We all know that this pandemic crisis has actually made the world upside down. We all are in a gloomy situation. Many a times we are stressed. But after this webinar, we really found out there are many ways to be positive. This is not end of the world. We have many positive things all around. It is on us how we pick and go ahead. And I'm sure together we will win this battle. Before we end this webinar, there are multiple things which are happening all around us. From our side, I also take this opportunity to add on this new COVID help desk which we have introduced. So during this pandemic crisis, whenever you are facing any challenge and you have any questions regarding COVID, you can always reach us. There are 24/7 helpline which is available and can give you services regarding COVID at various aspects. I'm sure you all are getting these communications. So I wish all of you all the best. I am sure, as all our honorable panelists and moderators have said, that together, if we all become positive and we think positive, we will definitely win this battle. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Stay COVID negative, mentally positive.
That's
Thank
the
you.
great message, Dr. Akhilesh. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Alchemites, for listening to us and spending your time with us. 1 hour, 1 hour 34 minutes, how it has gone, just like quickly. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
all the panelists, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
the expert, sir, I'm sure the expert advice from our panelists will help us in coping with COVID and hoping for a healthier tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sushil ji, and thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Akhilesh,
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Suma.
you.
Thank you, sir.
The moderator has ended your session. Goodbye.